The guy I'm talking to today is known currently as Lord Goat. According to him, though, his name doesn't matter. I'll always know him as Goretex of Non Phixion, the greatest rap group of all time. Gore may not remember this, but we met when I did the merch table at a Non Phixion show at CBGB's many years ago. Could be 20 years now. I've interviewed his bandmate Ill Bill, Bill's brother Necro. I've interviewed DJ Eclipse. I was a guest on DJ Eclipse's radio show, and it goes deeper than that. The members of Non Phixion are a little older than me. I was born in '81, and they experienced at least some of the coke sniffing '70s. And I spent a lot of time as a kid at Fat Beats in Manhattan. For those who don't know, Eclipse was the in-store DJ. And one day when I came up, Bill was there too, by the window overlooking 6th Ave. As a kid, these guys were my heroes to me. Bill took the time out and he made an impact. Put his arm around my shoulder. And from that point on, I was armed with my Hebrew National Records Non Phixion tape, and I knew I'd be a rapper too. Like Gore and Bill, I was also influenced by punk and hardcore. My cousins co-founded the Sharps, and I followed in their footsteps. These were the good old days, for those who don't know: writing, skating, boosting, old New York. Also, like Gore, I have a Mafia connection. My great-grandfather was in Murder Incorporated and had Meyer Lansky over every Friday for Shabbos. And like Gore, I've had some run-ins with drugs. One of my favorite lines of mine is, "I hate all drugs, they ruin your life. I love the way drugs feel, really nice." Over time, though, I realized that my lifestyle would either kill me or land me in a cage. So I turned to hip hop as an outlet, and hip hop saved my life. Years later, Bill gave me a tour of Canarsie. He gave me the go-ahead to remix metal music for my album Worldview, and we even used the acapella of Necro saying "Shit Gets Awkward." I've tried to get my guest on a song. It hasn't panned out yet. Anyway, this is the first video interview I'm doing as part of the Awkward Interview series with a rapper, with someone not known primarily for revolutionary politics or organizing, although my man does have that. Why? Because music and art are critical to our liberation. It's also the first time I'm saying on air that my interview show is ending. My wife, a nurse through the whole pandemic, has cancer and COVID dysautonomia. She had a stroke in December. So I'm reprioritizing, going back to my roots, working again on music, and focusing on family. In this interview, I'll be asking one of my favorite artists of all time about growing up poor in New York, his experience as a youth with the Italian mob, the creation, dissolution, and reemergence of Non Phixion, the group's history with MC Serch, Geffen, Warner Brothers, and Linkin Park, what it was like to be a fly on the wall of their recording studio, his songs Celebrity Roast and New America, the 90s underground hip hop scene, hip hop today, the influence of drugs on his life and music, and how society today reminds him of Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. Welcome, my brother. Thank you for sitting in with me. Thank you.
Peace.
Yeah, man. Thank you for the time. I'm glad we finally made this happen.
Absolutely, man. It took a minute, but
it did.
Yeah, bro. Yep.
Busy lives and hectic shit at all times. We've been going through it for a long time. As we age ever so gracefully. All right, man. Let's start from the beginning. We can either start with how I kind of describe old New York, what it was like growing up as a kid, you know, going through this, like, you know, in Canarsie, in that area, or we could go with the mob conversation, because I couldn't believe it when I read that, given my love for Goodfellas and my personal connections. So we got to touch on that too, but you get started however you want.
I mean, you know, I think anybody who grew up in this, you know, in the city of any kind of urban influence, I think they might be kind of just, they would have similar stories to what I had. It's not so much that my story is a 1 in a million, you know. I think it's different than most people. You know, I know a lot of people go through their own shit, but you know, I was born in Long Beach, which is where MF Doom was born and raised, and the funny thing is, I didn't meet Doom until much later, but we were like, you know, comrades in arms, because we're the only people that was from Long Beach. So when he found out that I almost went to the same junior high school as he did, he flipped his lid. You know what I mean? So the Long Beach thing was interesting because I moved from Long Beach in like '83. You know, I was young, and you know, my mom was just like, well, there's not much popping off here. All her friends, for some reason, wanted to move to Brooklyn. So I didn't really have a choice. You know, you're that age, you're just, you know, stressed out because you're going to miss your friends and whatever girl you had a crush on up the block or, you know, wherever. So I didn't want to move in '83, but we didn't really have a choice. Rent was going up, and, you know, it wasn't like we were sitting on a fucking shitload of money. So my mom had to do what she had to do. Long Beach was cool though, because if anybody's familiar with Long Beach in New York, now it's like some expensive surfing place where like rich lawyers go. They bought all the condos on the beach. There's no more old people. Yeah, they killed Long Beach. So
they killed the whole Brooklyn.
They killed it. I mean, Long Beach is, you know, Long Beach is not in Brooklyn, but it's in Long Island. It's on the island, but it's like on the outskirts.
It's not, wait, so is it like it's not near Montauk, is it?
No. Okay. Montauk is all the way east.
Okay.
Whereas Long Beach is pretty much like 20 minutes from Queens.
Oh, all right.
So
my dad grew up in Queens. I was
like
in
Long
Flushing
Island.
a lot.
It's like Long Island, but if you actually look at the map, if you want to look at the bottom of it, it goes across the whole island where it actually kind of meets up with Gilgo Beach. I don't know if you're familiar with Gilgo Beach.
Okay.
So it's kind of along the same line, except it's, you know, however miles. You know, Long Beach was cool. Long Beach still had hood elements, but it also had a pretty normal kind of scenario. So if you weren't caught up in that, you could just have a normal life.
Right.
You know what I mean? Whereas when I moved to Canarsie, you didn't have many choices. You were just either gonna get involved in what you could to survive, or you're getting jumped every day by STM, which is basically just Canarsie graffiti writers that were like kings at the time. You know what I mean? But when you're a toy and you're new to the graffiti scene in Canarsie, you're gonna have beef. So when I moved there, I was already writing.
Oh, okay.
So when I got there, I was just like, cool, I'm gonna start bombing. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Until you try to go there and, you know, you're with a couple of kids, you're all 11 years old, and you see Fib, who was a king at this time. FIB was a straight New York king at this time. And I knew all those guys kind of hung out there. So I was just like, yo, put me on. Anybody got any fat caps? Or I thought I would go in there and charm these people.
Right.
That's not how it worked. You know, I had a bunch of Rust-Oleum cans that cost me $30, which was my whole allowance. I was trying to go in there and bomb, but as soon as I went up in there, I was basically surrounded by goons. You know what I mean?
At an 11, like, give me 11. 11.
Yeah, I was 11, bro. I was 11. You know what I'm saying?
Wild.
I had to save up 2 weeks to get the paint, to try to get caps. I was with my friend, and they're just like, I'm like, yo, I get this paint. We're getting jumped. That's just whack. That's not the way I envisioned it, you know?
No. And I'll say, like, I started painting in Danbury, Connecticut. And, you know, there's, you know, our spot, there were, you know, everyone went down there at some point, actually not down, up, like Revs and Cost and everybody.
Right.
But it wasn't that kind of culture. Thankfully for me, I had my fair share of fights with Nazis, but I never had to worry about anyone involved in hip hop. Like there were so few of us in a sense that like we would stick together, you know?
That makes sense. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. So just for those who haven't caught whatever interview this was that I read, tell me something about Goodfellas that you lived through.
I mean, you know, it's like, I don't mind mentioning it, but I don't want to seem like I'm just,
it's
you
me.
know what I mean? Like,
it's me.
Yeah,
it's me.
True.
Like, it's so clear that this is not something that you are like, let me tell you about this. It is me pulling it out of you. No one will hear it otherwise.
I mean, it's not, you know, it's not, I don't really care, but it's like, you know, growing up around that shit, you know, my grandmother lived in the cab stand. They lived in the cab stand that's portrayed in the movie. And they lived above the cab stand, which they didn't show how many floors it was or whatever, but they happened to live there. And they were there forever. My grandmother originally, though, she's from London. and she settled in Brooklyn many, many years ago, in Brownsville, the whole area. So when my mom was young, she was just hanging out at the cab stand with her brother Mike, who's my uncle. And Mike was psychotic. The thing about Mike, my uncle, is we weren't that close because he was like off the meter. Like there was he was a wild dude. Even my mom couldn't really mess with him sometimes because he just had a killer mentality. He had like no patience. You got on the wrong side of him, he's gonna run his car into you right through the bar. He didn't care. So growing up, I wanted to kind of chill with Mike, my Uncle Mike. My mom wouldn't really allow that because he was a hustler, he was on the street, and he was only one of these. There wasn't, see, the thing about back then is what people don't realize, people thought it was all Italian.
Yeah, no.
And it really wasn't like that because everybody lived together. You know what I'm saying? At least, Italians and Jews, and they were, these people hung out all the time.
Yep.
And there's dudes that were thugged out that rolled with those guys and worked with them, but those guys would never get made because they're Jewish.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
My uncle was one of those guys who he worked with them. They used him for this, a little of that, blah, blah, blah. He cleaned up, fine. But he was never going to get made. He knew that, Right. So everybody was friends with everybody. So growing up as a kid, I'm young, but, all that stuff in the 70s, all that shit was still going on. Yep. It wasn't Godfather times, but it was like during Hanukkah, in my garage, I got 13 refrigerators and color TVs sitting there and all kinds of stuff. So like we would have all kinds of shit just, doing people favors. Like she was friends, and being a kid, like we didn't have that much money. But for like my 7th to 8th birthday parties, all OGs are on the table. You know what I'm saying? Gold, flashing chains, all that typical, whatever you would think it was. And they didn't treat us any different because, my mom was Jewish, or it's like, I'm Jewish, but my dad's Mexican. Yeah. Like they didn't give a fuck about any of that. They loved her, and it was whatever. You know what I mean? So like,
and that might dispel some myths too. You know what I mean?
No, it's because the movies don't tell you that. It's a movie, so the movie has to present something in a logical and clear way to make it the most clear because it's a movie. So you're not going to say, oh, well, these Italians actually hung out with Jews, so it's not really like that. But it was like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because I was there. I seen it. You know what I mean?
Life is a lot more complicated than they can make a movie. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah. But,
So tell me, with that background, also like we grew up watching these movies as well, only, there were aspects to it that you were living, moving to Brooklyn at a young age, and Canarsie being, as all of you have talked about in your music, not the safest place for someone who doesn't really fit in with the rich white kids and doesn't really fit in with the black kids and listens to metal and listens to rap. Tell me, like, your upbringing music wise. How did you get into hip hop, and what was your first kind of, like, when did you realize and why that this was something you wanted to like make your life?
I mean, it was two things. Probably one was I used to go to my cousin's house, and he was 5 years older than me. So by that time, he had all the Adidas. He had a huge boombox, like the size of like a big IKEA thing, like just absolutely crazy shit. And he was a DJ, so he would play records, and I would constantly bother him, try to go through his crates, and he was just like, yo, just chill, blah, blah, blah. I'd try to wear his sneakers, all sorts of kind of like cheesy stuff, but I couldn't believe it. You know what I'm saying? He had the belt buckles, and like just pictures of like half naked girls on his wall, graffiti. And to me, it was like the illest, you know what I mean? Because me and my mom would take the bus. And before I even knew what Rapper's Delight really was, we used to ride the bus. And my mom was like, yo, if there was 60 people on the bus going to the mall, chances are me and my mom, we're the only white people or mixed people. We're the only people on the bus. So I'm going in the back of the bus. Like, I don't want to sit up front with old people. I'm going where they're smoking a joint, where they're playing a radio. Like, I would go and I would just go sit down like a weirdo, right in the middle of like thugs, like dudes with afros. You know what I'm saying? I'd be like, yo, what up? And they would look at me like I had 16 heads, bro.
I mean, I was similar, man.
They couldn't believe it. I didn't care. I didn't care because I went wherever the music was.
And you're
So I heard
truly
them.
who you are,
Yeah.
right? Like to
What's
me,
that?
one of the biggest things I've noticed in my own experience, no one has ever been like, you're a Jew, you don't belong here. No one's been like, you look white, you don't belong here. I was always who I am. I don't speak a certain way to sound a
Right.
certain way. I don't
Right.
talk
Right.
about experiences I haven't lived. And I'm guessing for you too, they saw you're authentic to who you are.
Well, that depends where you go, because depending where you go, let me tell you something. Nobody gives a shit about or being authentic, and they'll tell you, "Yo, get the fuck out of here. You get the fuck out. You white or whatever. You get out."
I'm
So
lucky then. I swear to
it isn't.
God.
It isn't like. But the thing is, it ain't like you could just walk into a projects and hold up a DOC album back then. They're like, "Hey guys, like I actually like the music. Like it didn't work that way, bro."
No. Yeah.
People had to learn the hard way, because some people, even friends of mine that didn't live there, they would want to come see me unexpectedly. And I'd be like, yo, bro, it don't really work that way. We got to make an appointment, because if you ride through the projects with your brand new mongoose, they're going to beat you over the head with it and take it.
Right. I got
So
you.
we
Yeah.
had it like that kind of shit was annoying when I was cool with other people, because you had to basically hope that they wouldn't get jumped or something wouldn't happen to them.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
yeah. I mean,
I'm not complaining about it, because the thing is, it's like when you grow up in those situations, it can go one way or another. It's either going to build your character, or it's going to put you in jail.
yeah.
It's not really, there's not a whole lot of what are we going to do here?
Yep. 100%. I mean, when you go through stuff like that, it hardens you, and not necessarily in a bad way. It doesn't mean you can't feel things anymore, but it means you can handle more than someone who has.
It does. It does. I agree with you, but it also makes you negative. It makes you not trusting of people. It makes you not believe in a lot of things because of some of the things that aren't granted to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I didn't expect anything, but I also didn't want to be eating cheese and being on welfare and having to go to Hempstead or wherever we had to go to offices for my mom to beg for assistance. Like that shit wasn't, I didn't think that was in the cards,
Right.
So right. It could make you stronger, but could also break you down. You know
totally,
what I mean?
Totally. But that's what I mean. It's like for those who survive it and do something incredible and end up being interviewed by random ass people like me, that's a cool story, whether you like it or not. You know what I mean? Like
it's cool. It's it's cool, but it's like it's hard sometimes to put into words because there's a lot that comes with it.
Right.
That's what people don't see. It's a lot of listen, I'm not, I don't judge anybody for their past or their lifestyle, social or economic. That's not my business. But it forms a different person when you're in this scenario for years. And it makes it worse when you can't get out. Yeah. That's the difference people don't get. People listen to Mobb Deep and these white kids in Oklahoma, they're acting like they want to live in the projects. They want to live in the hood. And people who glorify that and you don't really get it, you have no idea the pain that you will go through.
Right.
And it's not about just rap records or trying to sound tough or the shit that you envision will fuck up your psyche. You need to know that. It's not, going out to the store. Like, it's like my mom wants something from the store. I go to the store, I'm gonna come back and see, like this guy Shah with his head blown off all over the pavement, like yogurt. You know what I mean? I don't want to see that. I knew this guy. This is a guy who asked me for like change so he could buy Nestle Quick every day. So that kind of shit fucks with you, bro.
Yeah, of course it does. And in a different way, it fucks with you to think about people misunderstanding it. Like the whole Dolores Tucker era, obviously no one like us was happy about everything being blamed on rap music and essentially on Black people and urban culture and all of that shit. But also there's the reality, the deeper part of it that they were missing, which is, yes, there's some violence in the music, but that's because there's some violence in their lives, and they're not all doing it to glamorize it for the white kids in Oklahoma. They're expressing themselves, like they're telling you true stories. And if you listen carefully, you will say, oh shit, I don't want to go live through that. That sounds bad, right? Like,
Right,
you
correct.
have to listen.
Well,
Yeah.
I think it's an artist's job. I think it's an artist's job, excuse me, to not only glorify one side, but you have to really speak the truth about both sides.
Right.
You know, people think, oh, white kids are their thugs and they dress baggy clothes. There's all that none of that even mattered. There's a whole mental psychological effect that goes with it that breeds extreme conditioning and depression. And
100%.
people don't even want to talk about that. I grew up with kids that couldn't handle it, not because they were weak internally, because they couldn't handle it. They couldn't handle getting jumped or their mother smacked around or not being able to just eat a normal meal or not being able to get new Reeboks. That kind of stuff on your psyche was enough to make people lose it, which happened multiple times. I had multiple people. We all knew people back then that just killed themselves, or, you know, they blew their head off, or, you know, rest in peace, my boy Joey Ryan, you know what I mean? He killed himself in a car because
Mine too, my friend Jesse.
you know, it's like his girl broke up with him and they were going through something, and you know, all kinds of shit, bro. I mean, you know, it just doesn't end. So if you want to glorify it, you can glorify it, but that's coming from inexperience. It's coming from you want to emulate something on a record. You know, it's coming from a song that you think is cool because Prodigy said this, or because Nas says he's selling jumps, or whatever it is. And it's like, you don't want to be in that situation.
No.
So speaking for us, we never glorified it.
Exactly.
Like, oh, it's the place to be. It's not the place to be. It makes you suicidal. It gives you permanent trauma for the rest of your life. People don't see that side of it.
Right. And it's one of the many things that made nonfiction and the music, and makes nonfiction and the music that all of you guys have always made so valuable, because it's hard as fuck and it's telling the truth. And there's intellect. And I'm not trying to hate on someone who doesn't have that intellectual capacity, but, you know, you guys are talking about things that you don't normally hear in a rap song, but you're coming from the same place. And so it's relatable to a whole wide variety of people,
No.
greater diversity of people.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, like I said, I mean, for me as a Jewish kid, you know, who looked at Woody Allen as like the epitome of who I didn't want to be, you know,
right. yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Who's marching to the gas chambers? Clearly, I don't want to be sheep. I don't want to be like them. And then when I see these, and I see like people like you, you know, and Bill, and like, I'm like, okay, like, and my cousins too, you know, I knew that like there was a different way that I could be. But there was so much more to it. I learned so much, you know, like learned so much about politics, about, you know, crazy, and from you specifically, crazy ass shit that nobody even thinks about. So tell me about the writing process. Like, how do you get inspired? What does it look like? Do you sit down and write a full song? Does it take weeks and different sittings? Do you have the beat first or after? What does that whole thing look like?
I think sometimes it depends. I mean, I will say I might not be the fastest artist that puts music out when my fans want it, which I get it. Like I'll pick up my phone and read something negative about me, and it's like, you can say anything, but it's like sometimes people are like, yo, they're pissed because I haven't put out enough music. Which, let me tell you something, I understand, because I'm a fan of music since I'm 2 years old.
Right.
I understand that, like, people are just like, yo, what's the problem? Why can't you put out 2 or 3 albums a year?
Yep.
For me personally, it's very difficult to just write a song or put a new record out every month or every 6 months sometimes, because I think I'm guilty of overanalyzing what I'm trying to say so much, where if I don't do that, I can just say, you know what? I don't have to do that. I don't have to wait a month to finish this or to finish that, you know? So sometimes it could be, you know, I'm on a beat and it's like I'm not hearing anything, or I might just be inspired to write where there's no beat, or I'm thinking of a concept without the beat, and then I make a beat and I'm like, that's it. And I could just peg it on to what, like, I want to hear on that beat.
Right.
It's all different, honestly. It's all different to, like, it's not one science to
Okay.
if I sit down and, you know.
So what about that beat, for instance? How did that come about? Since it was one of the earliest records, I'm sure a lot of people would love to know about it. Like the I Shot Reagan, Refuse to Lose. Was that recorded in that studio that you guys were able to build with the, the first signing money?
Yeah, we did that.
was?
Yeah. Yeah, what happened was we got the deal and Serch is like, listen, whatever happens between us, you guys are gonna keep the studio. So whatever, because at that time the other guys didn't really care about record, like making beats and learning the equipment. So I was already kind of like pretty much doing that. So I was the guy, and like me and Serch basically built the studio. We went shopping for all the equipment, yada yada. I found the property. I talked to the landlord. So I was kind of handling all that. You know what I mean? Okay. And yeah, we decided to basically do the studio because that would be the most important thing. Whatever happened, we'd still have that. So with that said, those beats were kind of just around. Like we had the beats. We just felt like we wanted to write something specifically powerful and conceptual around those particular beats. At the time, we were also influenced by all kinds of stuff. We were influenced by, like the Torah, 5% stuff. We kept our minds extremely open so that we became like, we became a force field of material because we were learning about stuff too. And we never, we could have went the route where we were just talking thug shit and, because we all have different elements to different styles. Like, if I want to be heard a certain way, I can talk to you all day about Art Bell. If we're talking about liquefying a cadaver in the trunk, we could also talk all day. So you can't, it's not just one-sided or, oh, he's rapping normal on this. Oh, he's rapping about murder. It's all intertwined. It's all real. And nobody really did that before. So nobody really spoke about politics, race, religion, urban situations, suicide, self-hatred. No one spoke about that. No one ever mentioned that. And we wanted to make a record where we were like, you know what? We want to create something that of what we feel like, of what, we could express to people that probably felt the same way. And even though when I first, personally speaking, I first started doing this, there wasn't very few Hispanics and no white kids. Me and my boys would go to clubs back in the day and it was us four. And that's it. And it was beef and, we got the heads screaming at us, all kinds of shit back then. Now it's like you see, it's predominantly white now.
The opposite, yeah.
It's completely the opposite. But, going to see, Brand Nubian when they first came out, or even stuff like the first Cypress Hill show in New York, that was not an integrated crowd. That, people are trying to remember it. This shit was not integrated. And I remember me and Bill, we were at that show, Cypress and Gangstar and Brand Nubian.
Oh, that was it? Woo.
That was one show, bro. And that was like, we had those groups in one show, which was a signal to us, like, yo, shit is moving in this way. So we were like, listen, we love these groups, and both of us were sort of doing stuff anyway. So like, yo, let's do this. Let's really take it seriously. You know what I mean? It just kind of went on from there. We were very into books. We were very into reading because we enjoyed reading. I mean, personally, I still do. I don't care about A, B, or C. I'll still try to read 10 books a month. You know what I mean?
Man, dude, are you serious?
Yeah, I try, man. I try. It's like, it's not always possible, but yeah,
yes.
I'll start a book and I'll do 2, 3 at a time. And I'll try to, one's in the bathroom, one's downstairs. You know what I mean? It's
that shit is basically just in your music. I'm shocked that you can ever come close to hitting 10 in a month, but that, the fact that you are like that is really evident. And honestly, man, I don't see you slowing down in the sense of like quality, because to me, quantity is irrelevant, although I hear you.
I agree. Well, here's the thing. People, and it's like, some of these guys are so out of touch. I know the shit that people talk about me, whether it's warranted or not warranted, or if it's like meth head losers from like Chicago, like child rapists, all these guys that are now following me and like threatening me and like putting messages out, all that shit is it is what it is. That shit doesn't stop me from doing what I'm doing. And I'll be honest with you, even if I didn't release a record 5 years in the same time span, me personally, the quality never changed.
Right.
And I'm not saying it because I think I'm great, I'm beeping my horn.
No.
I never in my life ever spit a whack verse. Whether you got 500 of them or whether, listen, I'll be honest with you, it would be nice if I could put out an album or two a year like Vinny Paz. That's my brother, you know what I'm saying? He somehow makes it happen. He's a magician, you know what I'm saying? And I love him for that, you know what I'm saying?
Can I just say though, man,
I can't work that fast.
And I'm sorry, but like 99.9% of the time, and this is not a diss at all, because everyone's different. Your style is more technical. There's a lot more to it. There's a lot.
Right.
I mean, so that's part of it. But I think also like you've gone through it, man. Like I don't know Vinny the way, you know, I don't know Vinny very well at all. I've only met him once. And it happened to be at that same show at CBGB's.
Right.
And but it seems to me like he has always had like surrounded himself with a lot of people who are going to keep being like pushing him that way. Whereas,
well, I mean, yeah, of course he has a good outer circle as well as the inner circle, which me personally, I have that too, but times in the past, it goes in and out, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sometimes you know, and that's my brother, you know what I'm saying? He's got his shit more together than me, which I love him for, you know what I'm saying? That's like love forever, you know what I'm saying? I respect him and I love what he does, you know what I'm saying? I would love to be able to move like that, where I could just snap my fingers like, hey, new Goretex album.
Yeah. But I have to tell you, man, I would love to be doing that. I have to tell you, like, fine art isn't about quantity. And things that are rare, things that are hard to find, these are the things that people cherish most. These are the things that will last forever. And I have to tell you that, like, when as fans of music, and you know this as a fan too, we want to relate to the artists that like we listen to. And I relate to you partly because it hasn't been easy. Like you just said, like, I wish I could be as productive as Vinny. Like, and I've said that about myself, man. I wish I could not be a fuck up. I wish I wasn't a fucking drug addict. Like, you know, but that is what you've gone through is one of the reasons that I relate so much to you and why I want to
know you. Well, I want to, not to cut you off, but
no, that was it.
Yeah, I just want to like make it just something just like a little clear. Like when we discuss drugs, you know, I've just to throw it out there before we get more into it. I've never had a problem or a condition with that.
Oh no,
that's just no. It's never happened. There's public scrutiny.
Can't say the same.
Yeah, no. That's I get it. Listen, I've had friends my whole life. I've had numerous friends die. My 3 best friends died within 5 years.
Not funny at all.
I know it better than anybody. You know what I'm saying? There's a difference between talking about it in a rap and explaining what you've done, and then really, if you're going down that path. Part of that has to do with fake public scrutiny, and basically, again, it's narratives by certain people to make themselves look perfect and better when nobody knows the truth. So I've had people tell me, listen, if that's the truth, why didn't you say anything 5 years ago? Why did you make a general statement when all that negative stuff was happening? I purposely didn't do that for certain persons to make them look bad or really go after them in a way I really could have, because I know everything.
Yeah.
That's why people have a problem with me, you see? Because not only do I know everything, I'm the nucleus of everything. So you can't kill the nucleus off. You can be mad at it. You can make comments. You can try to rob it and not pay him $1. You can not give him any copies of vinyl. You can tell people I'm a junkie. You can say I'm an alcoholic. Real motherfuckers know the truth that I've never, ever, except when you keep it real, like, yeah, I mean, yo, I'm a street dude. So people do what they got to do. So if I'm hustling, that's part of the hustle, bro. That's part of the hustle. But if you really want to go there, I've never done hard drugs. I've never done dope. had no interest in doing it
Yeah.
and no desire to do it after 3 of my friends passed away.
Yeah.
So right there, any rumors of garbage people want to talk, you know, and most people started those rumors because we smoke weed.
Well,
and said person said that people who smoke weed are worse than junkies.
yeah, that's good.
Said person said weed is worse than heroin.
All right, well, let me tell you something funny. When I went to rehab, they literally said to me, weed's not a drug. Don't worry about that.
Right.
That's another perspective on it. And so as someone who, you know, before I met my wife, she had 2 little girls. And
Right.
as soon as I met them, that was it. Like I was done with the really dumb shit. But I ended up, you know, finding others less dumb, but also stupid shit to do. And, you know, then I had to get fixed, right? Like I had to, otherwise I would lose them, right? And so, but like, so now, so I was like clean, sober, whatever they say, for like 2 or 3 years. And then I was like, all right, I can smoke weed again, and I can. So that's 2 things right there that will tell you, as an addict who knows I'm not touching anything else, weed is not that.
Right.
Okay. So having said all that, like whoever said that is a fucking idiot. But also for what it's worth, like, I mean, I remember it was on MySpace. Like that's how old that shit is. It's irrelevant. Like that, like, you know, that moment in time when people were saying shit that maybe may or may not have been true, like that is not the moment that we should focus on, right? Like,
no, we shouldn't focus on it. But what I will say is, considering how long ago it is, and I don't mean you, I mean we're just talking amongst whatever, but you'd be shocked how many of these kids, well, they're not kids anymore because they're grown men, obviously. You know, how many people were so obsessed and played themselves that I'll still get called names 15 years later. It's like, yo, you guys have a life? Did you guys do anything with your life? Did you achieve anything? I mean, you know, these people are so mad. People are so miserable that they can't even enjoy something or take something for what it is because they're so fucking miserable. Listen, I get that. Let me tell you something. I get that because we've all been depressed. Okay? We've all been in situations. We've all been, I don't care who you are. If people want to act like everything's good, they've been fucked up too. They've been, everybody's had
my
stuff.
girls. Yeah.
Exactly. Everybody's went through it.
Yeah.
But when you're painting a false narrative for years, when people who know me know it's like the biggest absolute joke. See, here's the thing. It's like, you can talk about saying certain stuff on record because obviously you didn't do it. You know, Big Pun didn't shoot up 18 casinos and kill 300 people. It didn't happen. No. So, you know, if you want to have fun, we could have all the fun in the world, except with this shit, once you start saying certain things, people want to hold you to everything. And that's fine. You know what I'm saying? Because I did my dirt. I paid my dues. I got nothing to hide. I could always go back to the hood. Because I get love, because I'm from there, I can shoot videos. I can do whatever. I can hustle there. Nobody has a problem with me. Said people
no one that matters.
Well, that's what it is. But the thing is, people get confused between somebody having an issue or somebody being depressed.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference because if you're not putting 3 albums out a year and people think you have a song called Dope Sick, which was really just a fun title. It didn't mean anything. It had to do with, I was dope sick from hip hop. I needed hip hop. I need to make hip hop. I need to be making beats.
But because they wanted to paint a certain picture.
Of course. It's like anything, bro. It's like anything. I had a tour set up for Australia in 2007. Yeah. Up until the point I was packing my bags and waiting for money so I can get the fuck out of there. And the promoter calls me up freaking out and apologizes to me, saying that we can't book you because we have reliable sources that you're a stand-up and sit-down alcoholic. You're a fall-down drunk.
Wow.
And we can't bring you to Australia, which would have been the minimum of like 3,000 seaters, because we heard you're an alcoholic and you're a drunk.
And also, I'm sorry, but do you realize how ridiculous this is when every single rock star of all time has been a fucking drunk and
Of
whatever
course.
else? Is this
Bro,
like
I don't even drink. Even to this day, I
even
can't
if
even,
you
bro,
did,
I've
man?
never drank a six pack in my life,
That's wild. That's
you know.
wild.
So I'm an alcoholic. So
Right.
again, it's this shit that people don't know. So it's like all these Australian fans, they're like, oh, this guy is blah, blah, blah. So you're trying to like narrate the story to thousands of Australian dudes and chicks or whatever, that I'm some bad guy and a fucking loser and I miss a tour, because people have been actively, here's the word I'm saying, not the past, actively trying to ruin my career. 15 years later, there's still money being spent. There's still networks trying to take my shit down, trying to hack my shit. It's non-stop, bro. If people would have been in my shoes doing this, they would have quit in 2005.
Wow.
I had people calling my house, threatening my kids.
That's crazy. Like I've had that too.
Said person's fans,
Yeah.
threatening to kill my kids because I'm not on this guy's record label anymore. So, it's like I got pushed into this whole other alternative world where it's like, yo, don't make me be that guy.
Yeah.
I'll either be, I'm by nature, bro, I'm a fucking sweetheart.
Me
But you
too.
motherfuckers made me a cannibal murderer with no fucking heart to deal with half of the shit that you will see now.
Yeah.
So, it's like being through a lot and experiencing that, it has an effect on you. But most people, they would have just dropped that shit at the door many years ago.
Oh, I'm sure.
Many years ago. Yep.
I mean, a lot of great rappers who haven't gone through 1/1,000,000th of that haven't made a song in 20 years. And I mean, are UPS drivers. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but if you are an incredibly talented person and decided to do something else, that's fine. But what you've done is you fucking pushed through all of that shit and came out on the other side. One, still making music with Non Phixion this year, and two, releasing solo shit that's the best music in my opinion of your career.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, I recommend everyone go check out the new stuff. New America is incredible, and Most Hated is incredible. Tell me, just because it's fun, and I'll tell you this: I never released it, but I fucking copycatted you. I heard that Celebrity Roast song and I was like, holy shit, this is the best song I've ever heard. And I wrote my own version too. Obviously didn't release it because one, you don't steal someone else's idea, and two, it wasn't nearly as good. So tell me, the reason you did it is obvious. I want to know where the specific people, and you don't need to get specific, but tell me, like, how did you, like, which people why did you choose the people you did? And where did some of that stuff come from?
I mean, to put it probably the most easiest, I mean, I was on acid, so that's,
yeah, okay.
You can forgive me a little bit, but it wasn't I had like a dark hatred for people. It's just, I was kind of sitting around and I'm like, is this what things are about now? Is this what I got to worry about now?
That's the vibe I got.
I got to worry about this guy. Yeah, like this guy's with her, she bangs this guy is high, this guy rapes women, this guy, it's all, it's like all of us, honestly, we're very influenced by pop culture.
Sure. And
music itself. So it's like, I'm influenced by music, not even from this generation. You know what I mean? It could be from the late 60s or early 70s. So I'm coming from all different eras. I'm bringing those references in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. And a lot, I would say it's gotten worse. And we can maybe conclude with that stuff. I want to get your take on society today, hip hop today, and where we're headed, because I do think it's gotten progressively worse. The stuff that you talk about.
Well, I mean, it depends what you're talking about. If you're talking about commercial hip hop, what you see out there,
no. So just to clarify, there's still some great artists out there. And I don't even mean commercial hip hop. I mean like our greater society, Hollywood, like Epstein, like this kind of shit. I feel like, and as the lower class gets bigger and bigger, and the tiny 1% get into the trillions of dollars now, beyond billions.
Of course.
The control, the oligarchy, whatever. I want to just, if you're up for it, I want to rant to end this. But before we get there, I just want you to give me what you're willing. Actually, let me first say, because I mentioned it. You started with MC Serch, and eventually,
Well, I started
not
years
you,
before him,
Non Phixion, right?
I know, correct.
Right. And then you guys went to Geffen, and then correct me if I'm wrong, we're on Warner Brothers for a short period. And then something weird happened with Linkin Park. And I want to be clear, it's not that you guys made music with them and were friends with them, but I don't remember what it was. So since I brought it up, correct anyone who's confused. What was the Linkin Park thing?
I mean, the Linkin Park thing is we were being scouted for Warner Brothers. And we were in Cali, we were wide-eyed because we thought Warner Brothers would be great for us because Geffen basically went out of business, and Geffen merged with MCA, and they were being bought by Seagram's, the alcohol company.
Mm-hmm.
So we had an option. We were like, listen, we'd appreciate it if you can take us to MCA. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we were too extreme, so that didn't happen. So we heard these guys are interested in us, and we were also working with T-Ray. Shout out to T-Ray, and T-Ray is one of my favorite producers, and we know him for years. And we were up there, and we had a meeting. The meeting didn't go right. Let's just leave it at that. It was weird. We didn't connect properly the way we did. But just to rewind it, we started going there just to show our faces around the office, because everybody in the office was like, oh, we heard you guys, and they looked at it like we were bringing a real underground hip hop perspective to that label, and we were going to bring all our experiences and all our influences, and we want to make not just a regular hip hop album. Me personally, I want to make a big album. And Warner Brothers was something I was dreaming about since I'm 3 years old, reading the back of Blondie's album covers, not even in first grade. So it goes psychologically deep back to that. Mm-hmm. So the Warner Brothers thing, we would chill in the offices, and there was an A&R dude, this guy Kevin, and he seemed like a nice dude. He was super psyched to have us there. We would listen to music in his office, blah, blah, blah. And long story short, he was working with some new groups, and he's like, I'm working with this new group, Linkin Park. They're not out yet, but let me play you a video. So he plays us like One Step Closer to the Edge, one step closer. I thought the song was cool. Yeah, whatever. I didn't like dude's hair. It was blonde hair, whatever, Long story short, this guy loves the music, and Linkin Park, like we were gone, and they would have meetings up at the label, and they would play Linkin Park, our stuff. And these guys, from what Kevin said, they couldn't believe it. They were like, yo, this is the second coming. These guys are like Public Enemy and Wu-Tang Clan. We love them. Please sign them. We'll do anything. I mean, they were really championing for us.
Huh, okay.
So we go back the next week, and he'd be like, oh, I gave Mr. Hong, whatever his name, Mr. Hong and the other guy, he's like, I gave these guys your demo because they couldn't believe it. So at first we were like, oh, did you actually tape it for them? We didn't really want anybody. You shouldn't have you shouldn't have given them our shit. It ain't out.
Yeah.
He's like, no, man. He's like, yo, those guys love you, bro. They're just, that's cool. They're like, yeah, they want to do something with you guys. We're like, all right, cool, bet. Let's do it. If we fix this business with the label, we'll gladly work with you guys. Oh, they want to take you on tour. They want to put you. All right, cool, man. We'll tour with them. Okay, cool. And I found it real funny. Like, it didn't work out with the label. We had a weird meeting, and I should have taken it over and just opened my mouth. But when you're in the industry so long, you learn that you can't really do that. You got to respect the meeting. You got to respect who's, operating the meeting, which is fine. But if I knew what I knew now, I would have taken it my way and said what I had to say, because we had a meeting with the actual president of Warner Brothers. This is a guy who signed Van Halen and signed, this guy was a little intimidating. But,
Yeah, sure.
you know, long story short, we thought we kind of had them, and then we didn't. And it was upsetting. Again, now it's like the third label from Matador, which put out Black
Yeah.
Helicopters. And then we went to Geffen. That didn't work out. Now Warner Brothers didn't work out. So we're like, fuck, are we cursed? Or like, what are we doing wrong? You know, and maybe 6 months later, their album comes out. And I wasn't even really thinking about it. And I put it on, and that song Paper Cut comes on. And I'm like, it just hit me in the chest. I was like, really? I'm like, you're really gonna steal the whole concept of, like, if you never heard the song, it's basically he's talking about he's paranoid, which is basically the shit they stole from the CIA is trying to kill me.
Wow.
Which was also a remix we did with Deftones. Stuff from the Deftones, Christian and Raymond from Fear Factory. You know, we had all kinds of buzzes going on.
Yeah, you did.
You know, the dude from Helmet, You're the Helmet, you know, the guy
Bad
from Helmet
Brains.
like they wanted to do songs with us. So we were definitely making noise. But as far as like, yeah, they stole the chorus. They stole the whole idea for the chorus.
Holy shit.
And,
all right.
You know, and you know, I went to confront this guy, Mr. Han. I was in some club in LA, and he was like holding a champagne bottle, walking down the stairs. So I was like, hey, dude, I was like, Mr. Han, you know, like a smile on my face, like I like you, but I hate you kind of thing. Like, Mr. Han, what up, bro? And he just shit his diapers. He completely took a shit and he ran the other way. I was like, where you going, Han?
I would have loved to have seen that. All right. So that's the Linkin Park story, and I'm not shocked.
Listen, the point is they sold 11 million records. They owe us at least $100K for that chorus.
Man, and I believe me, I would have loved to have seen you guys stay exactly who you are, but get as rich as them. That would have made me happy.
I mean, you know, I'm not a hater. I don't listen to that kind of music.
Right.
But to be honest with you, they made very big songs.
Yes, they did.
And the songs that they made translated to a lot of people emotionally. We have stuff we're still talking about murdering people. You know, we're talking about the CIA and, you know, this guy and that guy and secret governments.
Well, maybe there's not enough people like us out there, but that's what related to me. Not Linkin Park.
Well, look what's happening now. I mean, Here's the funny thing, what's happening now. It could be a fucking propelled saucer that lands in your backyard and it's still fake, right? These people don't believe it anyway. It's a government plant. It's fake. So you can't win with people now, no matter what you do. Fair. You don't say anything, you say anything, it's not believable. Because the mind games, because they've been playing so many mind games with us for decades that there's something it's not even computing what they're doing to us.
Right. And that to me is like, when I think of like that conversation, that's how I think about you is your awareness of that and the way that you kind of put that out through your music. Before, and I really do hope you're willing to go deeper into that and tell me, I think in the past you mentioned Brave New World. So I want you to touch on that if you're up for it. But before you do, because this was the era that we all look back on and, you know, fondly, like the backpack era, not Kanye's backpack era, although Kanye did make it to Fat Beats himself.
Well, he was a backpacker, correct? He never denied that.
I know. But like, what I want to know from that era, like Company Flow, Non Phixion, the Arsonists, you know, I know that you guys have remained tight with Q Unique, and you know, obviously I see what a couple other members of the Arsonists are doing. LP is huge now, right? I'm just curious if you're open to it, like which groups did you guys really click with? And like, you know, who might be like, what's someone that I wouldn't expect that maybe you did or didn't?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, we connected with people who showed us respect if there was a mutual thing. But I'll be honest with you, we didn't really feel like we had a lot of lyrical peers.
I agree.
You know, obviously, listen, Company Flow was there. they were doing it just as long as we were, as far as that goes. You know, I ain't gonna say anything now, you know, about certain people, because they completely forgot where the fuck they came from. They acted like they never knew anybody. So there's that kind of comedy you kind of watch, you know, when people sell their souls for some money, or they play darlings to basically hipsters. And certain people were playing darlings before hipsters were a real thing. And that's how they kind of rode that wave.
You're right.
We had relationships like the arsonists and a few other people, but we were kind of like insular. We were not really, you know, we would go someplace like, oh, you guys, because some people didn't know what we looked like. We didn't want to take pictures with the records. And so like, oh, y'all look like that? And we're like, yeah, like what, you know. And people thought like, yo, for the first 2-3 years, people thought I was like a 500-pound black dude.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, bro, I'm like, yo, I'm not insulted at all. That's just a compliment.
Yeah.
All right. You know, so it's, you know, I mean, we could go in circles all day about this. As far as what you were saying before, you see what's going on in the world and what kind of games people are playing and what they're playing upon us. You know what I mean? So it's like, to say what's really happening, I mean, of course, most of it's an illusion. Because the more you sit on something, the more you spend time on the internet. You know, did you ever wonder why internet currency, for some reason, it's worth so much? It's worth more than blood. It's worth, people's companies selling ads. They'll tell you, oh, well, you can download Tubi for free. You can watch everything on Tubi. Yeah, there's commercials, but it's like, yeah, they're paying for it. That's not what it's about. Everybody knows that. Streaming is a way to get closer to your blood. It's closer to your aura. So they'll say and do anything they can to get you on there. Though they might reward you with money on YouTube for making videos. But anything, it's the human experience connected to the waves of this stuff is all they're after. And then that goes into something else, and that goes into children. It goes into some really fucked up dark shit, that's been talked about for years, but only now people are like, oh, wait, so Pizzagate was real, right? After they shitted on you for 5 years, calling you a fucking weirdo, a loser, they find out it is real. They find out there is a painting of Bill Clinton in a dress in someone's apartment. You know, what Hillary Clinton did with the laptops, how she cut off infants' faces, how her and Oprah had a camp to sodomize black girls. You see, it's the game they're playing is like, it's hard to even talk about. Epstein? Is Epstein a plant? I don't know. He's probably in the Kairos Island. He's relaxing right now.
Yeah.
He's never been better.
Yeah. I wouldn't be shocked if I found him. I mean, I'd be shocked if I found him, but I wouldn't be shocked if that were true.
Correct. Yeah. People don't want to believe anything right now, dude. People don't want to hear about UFOs. They don't give a fuck.
All right. So that's the reason that that and a few, related things is why I don't really give a shit who's president. I don't worry so much about I can't, also as an individual human being, there's very little impact that I could have anyway on this international or global, national, whatever scale, which is why I have, I grew up beating up Nazis but over time I've read a lot about abolition and the idea of it's a whole different way of thinking about the world. It's not just like no cops, no cages. It's also like community self-defense and what they call mutual aid, which you've probably witnessed in your life, communities where you grew up taking care of each other because that's all they had, right? And and so to me, it gives me chills, honestly, this concept, and it's working. It's happening all around the country, but we need a lot more of it. This idea of getting rid of all these government institutions that have been inflicting this pain on us and breaking up into fucking communities. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That
would be, I mean, that would be wonderful. If we could set something up like that in every community, that would be great.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's like, without sounding negative, I don't see how that would happen, because what you were saying before about the president, we don't know who the president is. You've never seen the president. Because that old
Right.
guy,
Who's really pulling the strings?
yeah, it's like that. These people are all actors, Obama and his husband, all actors, all actors. And for people not to get it, it only saddens me, because you had enough time, enough years to actually do research. So like when Obama was president, most people were happy because they thought we were going to have a president, a man of color, which I thought too would be wonderful. Who didn't? I mean, wow, that's
we all
awesome,
did,
right?
Yeah.
But then you find out he never wanted that, and he was married, and like his husband got Joan Rivers killed. So what are we really talking about here? His penis is swinging in every video. Come on, no one believes that anymore. What man doesn't know his wife's name? Who calls his wife Michelle Michael 3 times in public?
Is that true?
Yes, it's true.
Oh, shit.
At a Navy commanding affair, Obama was sitting there. He gets up and says, "I would like to thank my wife, Michael."
That's wild. I mean, and this is exactly what I was looking for from you.
It's a malarkey. We can go in circles for 10 hours about this. So it's like Joan Rivers admits it on tape. So now you're not believing even her, who's an 84-year-old woman who has no reason to lie,
right? And
say that our first lady is transgender.
Which, in my opinion, doesn't matter at all. But let's just be honest.
Listen, Michael can be a transgender, and that's great. I would be happy.
Right.
But
I want to clarify it.
Correct. You're fooling the whole country.
That's what the problem.
Well, the thing is, remember at that time, people were hurting inside for actual change.
Yeah.
So when Obama did that speech in the stadium, it was very emotional.
Yeah, people were fucking dancing in the streets when he won.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
You know?
So the guy didn't want to be president anyway, because his dad is Secret Service. He made him be president. Obama's like, dude, I don't want to be president. I'm married. I'm a gay man.
And he bombed, and he just, And there's no difference between the Democrats and the Republicans. And that's
a scam, bro. That was a scam they set up. So they're like, if you say something to somebody, oh, by the way, Michelle Obama, not that I care either way, she had Joan Rivers killed and she has a penis. The reaction from that will be, oh, you're a Trump fan, go die.
Yeah. I mean, listen, man, you can't even,
right.
You can't even say that Joe Biden is doing a bad job and not be a Trump person. Like, you can't, because the truth really doesn't matter. And that's, I think, the overlying message here, the underlying message here is that, it is really hard to find the truth because it is actively suppressed. For instance, I mean, my music video for the 10 Demands song about abolition and shutting down the bombing the police stations, that's censored on YouTube. You have to hit like 10 buttons. You mentioned Vinny Paz before, and he released a song, I don't think that long ago, where he talks about, like, yes, I've said some things that even I found out weren't true. I hope you didn't take every word that I said verbatim. Like, what you need to do is not listen to the mainstream media, but do your own research. And it was,
of course,
it's a good fucking song. And also, yes, correct.
Well, people don't want to do that. They want to believe a survey or something online that says that, and somebody said it's not true. So it's really hard to get any actual truth involved with anybody. Right. It doesn't really matter the topic, really. It can be music, whether it's apparitions, UFO. I mean, it doesn't really matter. The wool that they're pulling over your eyes right now is legendary. It's never been done in human history.
Facts.
It's never been done.
And that's Brave New World, right? Or is it more like 1984? Which one?
Well, it's a combination of that and like The Hidden Hand. It's a combination of that and Behold the Pale Horse. So you got 4 things in one moving it the same way, and you're expecting people to absolutely understand that.
Yeah.
It's not, it's almost impossible to really perceive because of what these people are doing to you. It's not about the Trilateral Commission anymore. That was something people talked about 20 years ago. Now, they don't hide it. They don't wear masks. They don't hide their faces. Half-breeds, half-aliens, they've always been here. There was a very important shape-shifting video on Obama, actually, because Obama was a shapeshifter. And they removed it. And the video got up to about YouTube, and it got up to 3.5 million views. It was basically Obama on stage and two of his security guards in black suits, men in black, in the middle of an actual rally were shape-shifting. As he was talking, and the camera angles went all correct, it panned correctly in and out. So it's not, oh, it's a fake. It was not fake. It was not doctored. People studied it and said, this is a real video. And so what my point is, what they're doing is they give you signs and signals way ahead of the curve, way before that, for you to pick up on. They told you in a book in 1989, okay? And we can end at this if you want. In 2020, there's going to be a virus coming from China. And they said this to the exact town in China.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yep. In 1989, we're going to see a virus that wipes out people. It's going to be global, worldwide, and then it's going to disappear without a trace. That was the word verbatim. And they specifically said Wuhan, China.
Yeah, it's a little hard.
In 1989, bro, in 89.
Down to the town.
How would they know that's being designed and formulated in Wuhan?
Because it was. I mean, it's the only way, or it's the single greatest living example of luck.
Correct. Ask me. Let me ask you one question. How is Sam Simon from The Simpsons not in jail?
I don't know.
Okay. So you realize that's a problem. Those guys are fucking, those guys are implants. People like to throw around new words. Oh, it's a government plant. That's 20-year-old kids like, oh, it's a government plant.
Yeah.
You don't know what the fuck you're talking about, dude. That shit is a government plant. The Simpsons are a government plant. So, you think they're going to make the Truman Show and right. It's not real? Yeah. Truman Show admitted we're in a firmament. Truman Show told you we're in a globe.
Yep.
You're not sending rockets anywhere, buddy, because the rocket's curved. You ain't going nowhere.
I believe that shit. We're living the Truman
without going into the dark perceptions of where that topic, because I'm not getting into flat Earth. Yeah. What I'm saying is there's a lot of things in general about certain things that cannot be answered.
Yeah.
So I like to leave it at that, really.
Yeah. No, I think that's a perfect place. And I'll just conclude by saying that I'll be happy as long as you continue to make the music that you're making, because you are one of those few sources of alternative ways of thinking. And that is really important. I mean, what I do want to say is, from time to time, I'm constantly talking to fans and supporters and to stay in touch with people that, have been following my career for, 15 years or whatever. And there's reasons why. If you don't see me on the surface making music, there's reasons why. And some people don't know, but I've never stopped listening to music. I've never stopped making it. I've never stopped making beats. I've never stopped collecting vinyl. I mean, there's things, I've lost thousands of records here moving or whatever. Yeah. But in general, I know what you mean.
I'm the same person I was since I picked up that Blondie album cover and studied all the liner notes. There's no difference in that. People could get ahead. Some people are billionaires. Some people, I'm the same in that regard, because I've never stabbed my dream in the heart. I've never done that, and I refuse to do it. Doesn't matter who's following me, who took 100K from me, who's telling me I did this, who's lying about this, who's mad I fucked their girlfriend, none of that shit matters, dude. None of that shit really matters in the end. It's like most people are miserable. Everybody's miserable now. I get it. Everybody goes through depression. Everybody went through it, including myself. You'd be weird and an anomaly. You'd be strange if you weren't depressed, considering what's going on.
I would say
you'd be
that
more sick.
Yes, exactly. Like, honestly, if you don't feel the things that we feel, you're probably a sociopath, or right? Like you don't feel that.
Well, I
You
mean,
have
most
to see
people I
what's
know,
happening
correct,
around us.
correct. Listen, most people I know, I don't know about you, but most people I know, if they're always happy-go-lucky and they're
You're full
constantly
of shit.
smiling and everything's great, they're full of shit and they have a severe mental illness, and they're actually a serial
Exactly.
killer that
Right.
smiles.
Exactly. Right.
Right.
The people like us that everyone fears when they see in public, we're the safest people around. We're the ones who will save your baby, open the door for, an old lady. Like, we're not out killing people because we are expressing that shit through our music.
Well, I definitely agree with you there, but I mean, there's also a limit, and there's also, if you have the internet and you have certain individuals stalking your children, like I do now,
Yeah.
people making profiles every day. I'm talking about
Dude,
drug addicts,
I'm
losers,
disgusted by
fucking
this shit.
losers.
I'm
Listen,
disgusted by it.
listen. I didn't want to bring it up, but
Yeah.
before we go, I'll bring it up because more people bring it up to me now. So it's not like this secret that
Yeah, I
there's
didn't
people.
know.
Listen. People are sick and people are obsessed with different things. People read something, they think something, they think they know you. So that means because people have an opinion on me, they're messaging my daughter, they're going to rape and kill her. They're leaving comments all over everybody's books. They're telling people all kinds of crazy narratives. I'm a child molester. So you have to understand, you can take that with a grain of salt. You could also ignore it, and that doesn't go away. So the shit I'm dealing with, it's like, yo, you could ignore it, but it's like everything is going to be out there anyway. If somebody has no life and they're clinically ill and they make 7 Twitter profiles in a week and Facebook and Instagram, and keep in mind, those social media companies, they don't do shit to stop it. They like it. They enjoy it. When someone's sending your daughter 200 Twitter messages that they want to murder her on Twitter, you better believe Twitter's getting a rock hard erection by that.
Certainly. And
they're big, and they're the big. Listen, these social media companies are the biggest pieces of shit.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely. And I'll just, I'll say that it was hard enough getting death threats because of my, people, like I got found like he's Antifa by Andy No and these crazy Nazi journalists and shit. They wrote an article about me, and so I got death threats from that, and that was scary. And over time they kind of went away.
Right.
And but it's important to know that, one, it was based on my politics, and two, most people, until I got doxxed, didn't know my real name, whereas you are famous enough that everyone knows your real name.
Correct. So I in that sense, I'm fucked because I'm right in the middle, where it's like you can, and to counteract that, I'm a private person. So you can't be a private person and have all your shit out there. Right. And if people want to read my records and be a fake fan, they would know who my kids are. They would know their names. And if
that's the problem.
But the thing is, the way things are going, if I got to make an example out of people doing this, because this is going on for a couple of years right now, then I'm going to do what I have to do. So it's like, I want to just make music. I want to be in the studio. I want to make music. I want to travel. I love traveling. I love meeting our people. I love meeting our fans all over the planet, from Iceland to Russia, wherever, bro. I love it. But don't make me be that guy, because, shit is still ill right now. So we're talking about 15 years ago. I'm still in the hood. No offense. I'm still there. So if people looking for a war, you got the right guy. You got the right guy ready to go. And the funny thing is, they're watching this right now, I'm sure.
That's right.
I guarantee you that. I guarantee you that. Which, listen, I've never met them before. I know them from Facebook. Not really. I've never really talked to them. People want to dox you. They have some weird obsession. They go back to that guy, a post he made 15 years about me, the one you're talking about. They go and study that. And it's like, you realize, A, none of that's true. B, that was 16 years ago.
Yeah, man. You got
and these same pieces of shit, they want to message your family members.
Yeah, that's unacceptable.
So you're playing, what all I want to say, bro, is they're playing a very dangerous game right now.
That's
Because
right.
it's the worst case scenario of what could happen with technology.
And it absolutely is. And you know what? Like, it's all fun and games until someone makes a mistake and like gets too close, because then it's
They
not.
did that already. But that's what I'm trying to tell you. They made that mistake already. There is, aside from physically going there, listen, these pieces of shit just called my daughter today. So
I'm sorry, bro.
listen, don't be sorry. The thing is,
I know what it feels like though, and it's scary, and it makes you fucking mad.
well, it's different because I've been taking that kind of shit my whole career. So it's nothing for like
To
some
that
guy.
level though?
I
To that?
Well, kind of, because when I got off that label, this other guy sicked 100 people on me from that little thing and told people, oh, you can't be trusted. He's a junkie, this and that. Meanwhile, I go back to my projects anytime I want.
Yeah.
Said person hasn't been there in 20 years and can't go back. So that's the difference between
That
me
says a lot.
and somebody else that might think we're intertwined with that, and we're not. So,
Right.
you know, it's like, aside from the ranting, you're making me be that person, because I don't give a fuck anymore. Like, when people go after your kids and know their name, and your kids have to like worry and like look around, it's a wrap for them, homie. It's a wrap. So
You and I are a lot alike.
Yep.
I confirm that with this hour and 15 minutes. Lord Goat, one of the greatest of all time. Thank you
yeah, I
so much.
appreciate that, brother. Appreciate that.
We'll talk soon. Me, you, and Danny Diablo are gonna do this record.
Yo, it's my rabbi, bro. Anytime, bro.
All right.
Anytime, bro.
All right, cool. That's what he said. You're tight. So that's good stuff.
Anytime, bro.
All right, peace.
All right, brother. Peace.